What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm assembling a cheap handbrake that I want to use with my PXN V9 Gen 2, so drifting becomes easier, especially in Need for Speed Heat. Before we start, I want to be clear. This handbrake is not plug and play for Need for Speed Heat. If you just connect it and launch the game, it won't work. The game doesn't recognize it properly. So what I'll do in this video is show how I assemble it, connect it, and map it to a keyboard button so it becomes usable in-game. Alright, let's get into it. So this is a budget handbrake. Simple design, metal body, nothing fancy. I chose this because it's cheap, solid enough, and perfect for experimenting. It's not officially supported by the game, but that doesn't mean we can't make it work. First, I'm mounting the handbrake next to my wheel. Position matters a lot. I want it close enough that I can grab it naturally while steering, but not so close that it hits the wheel or gets in the way during fast turns. Once it's mounted, let's talk about the connection. The handbrake connects as a separate USB device. The PXN wheel stays as is. The issue is that Need for Speed Heat doesn't properly support custom handbrakes, so we can't just assign it directly in the game settings.
Good news. The league don't hate us anymore. They know it was a setup.
And the bad?
No word on Mercer. Look, I don't give a shit if he lost his job. He's still got those cars. We can't get away with them.
They're no use to him anymore.
If I open the game now, nothing happens when I pull the lever. That's the problem we're solving.
It's not much of a lead, but I put the word out. Anyone spots one of these trucks, and we'll know about it.
Till then?
Go spec out your ride as much as you can. Got a feeling we're gonna need it.
It's Raziel. Everything's set. See you at the docks.
So the workaround is keyboard mapping. What I'm doing is mapping the handbrake input to a keyboard key that's already assigned as the handbrake in the game. That way, when I pull the lever, the game thinks I'm pressing that keyboard key. I'll show this on screen step by step. Once the mapping is done, the handbrake becomes fully functional in-game, even though it's technically just triggering a keyboard input. I will use the software called JoyToKey to make everything work. JoyToKey, also known as JoyToKey, is a utility that converts joystick inputs into keyboard or mouse inputs. That means I can pull the handbrake, and the software will make the game think I'm pressing a keyboard key. This is really useful for games that don't fully support custom controllers or extra devices like handbrakes. Alright, let me show you how this works. First, I connect the handbrake to my PC. It shows up as a separate controller, not part of the PXN wheel. Next, I open JoyToKey. Inside the software, you'll see the handbrake detected as a joystick input. When I pull the lever, you can see the button or axis light up. That tells me JoyToKey is reading the handbrake correctly. Now I map that input to a keyboard key. In my case, I'm mapping it to the same key that Need for Speed Heat already uses for the handbrake. So when I pull the lever, JoyToKey sends that keyboard input to the game. Once that's done, I don't need to change anything else in the game settings. Alright, mapping is done. Let's test it. Jumping into a drift event now. You'll notice the difference right away. Instead of pressing a button, I can just pull the handbrake while turning the wheel. Initiating drifts feels more natural and more consistent, especially on tighter corners. That said, because this is a cheap handbrake, it's basically on or off. There's no smooth analog control. Timing is everything. Pull too long and you'll spin, release too early and the drift won't hold. But once you get used to it, it works surprisingly well. With the PXN V9 Gen 2, this setup really helps control oversteer. Before, I relied heavily on steering and throttle. Now, the handbrake gives me a quick way to break traction and set up the drift properly. You'll see in the gameplay clips that drifting becomes easier to control, even though the game is still very arcade-focused. So if you're using a PXN V9 Gen 2 and you want an affordable way to improve drifting in Need for Speed Heat, mapping a cheap handbrake to a keyboard button is a solid solution. It takes some setup, but the result is worth it. If this video helped you out, feel free to like and subscribe. More wheel setups, budget mods, and gameplay tests coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next drift. I'll be playing the Twilight Technique story in Need for Speed Heat to test a newly added cheap handbrake, using my PXN V9 Gen 2 setup. This run is focused purely on evaluation. The goal is to see how well the handbrake performs in drift-heavy scenarios, particularly during night events where visibility is lower and mistakes are more punishing. Twilight Technique features tight corners, flowing roads, traffic, and constant transitions, which makes it a good environment to test real-world usability rather than ideal conditions.
Not gonna lie, I've seen better from you. Early days. This track's got a few surprises yet.
Think you can get away from me?
Think cops know how to drift? Wasted that one. You keep going like this and you're setting a new record for sure. You gotta be hitting those lines for longer. that you might think you have me beat? There's one more track, then we'll see.
Let those other crews go crazy and burn themselves out. We know better.
If you enjoy testing setups like this and want to see more wheel gameplay, drift runs, and budget hardware experiments, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. More tests and gameplay coming soon.